It's such a broad question, except to say, anytime you do anything other than the normal God-intended means, I get nervous. Okay?
Right.
There are some things that seem to me to be just really beyond acceptance, like taking a conceived embryo and planting it in another person. I mean, I know they're involved in doing some of that kind of stuff. You can go back to the bottom line thing and say, if the Lord meant you to have a baby, you'll have a baby. You don't need to go through all of that. On the other hand, if you can't have a baby, you can certainly adopt a baby. That's the pretty much traditional view. I feel very comfortable with that view. At the same time, I know there are couples that go see infertility specialists. In fact, we have medical doctors in our church who are OB/GYN and infertility specialists, and they do provide some kind of service to folks to let them know what their alternatives are. I don't think it's that they're advocating any of this stuff, but there are ways that you can assist a couple. And somebody can say, well, if God wanted you to have a baby, you'd have a baby, so don't go to the doctor. But if you push that too far, you're going to be holding onto a tree in the backyard with a leaf, dropping your baby on it. I mean, that's a jungle approach. We do want some help. And so we go to a hospital, and if we can't have a baby normally, we don't say, well, if God didn't want me to have the baby, leave it alone. We say, no, I'll take it cesarean. Just get the baby. Yeah. So we're grateful for medical advances. Right. It becomes a very difficult thing then to know exactly where you draw the line. But I think I think when you get outside the couple itself, that's where I have a problem. Either physically outside of them or relationally. In other words, where you impregnate a woman with somebody else's sperm other than her husband, or where you have some kind of a surrogate mother situation, which is done all the time, of course, in breeding horses and things like that. Anytime you get outside of working with those two people that God brought together for the production of that child, I think you've got a real ethical problem. And it's going to get more bizarre all the time. You see what. And Crick and those guys used to sort of set the stage for this. But what they're after is genetic engineering. Right. And we're already a long way down the line. Abortion is one step toward genetic engineering. Abortion basically says we now have developed the right to murder anybody we don't want to be born. Okay? The more sophisticated our prenatal technology becomes, the more able we are to determine the character and quality of the infant that's there. Or if they can grow a baby in an artificial womb and chart the course of that baby and monitor that thing, they'll develop the technique to determine its physical skills, its mental skills, or whatever. They'll figure out ways to do that, and then pretty soon it'll be a question of who gets to live and who doesn't get to live. And then comes breeding and so forth and so on. I really believe with all my heart, and some of these things that I say might sound frightening, and I think they are, I really believe that there are people who want to engineer the human race, the humanists. You see, they want to eliminate crime, and they want to eliminate all the problems in society. They want to eliminate the drones on society, the welfare cases, the people who just eat up the resources of society and our problems, so forth and so on. The way to do that is to control birth, first of all. So first, what did we have? We had a big wave of birth control, all the scare tactics in the world, right? We have too many people. I don't know if you know this. The entire population of the world fit into the state of Rhode Island. The whole world, okay? But anyway, we've all been scared out of our wits about having too many babies. Okay, they did that for a long time. The next step was, we'll start to kill the babies. And we'll do it under the guise of a woman has a right to her own body, which isn't the case at all. It's just murder, plain and simple. And of course, it was basically generated by some Jewish lesbian women, the whole thing. And it's all part of a much bigger conspiracy than we understand. And I think you look behind the scenes and you will find that there are many people who are antagonistic to Christ behind the scenes, and it's really something. I could talk about that sometime. But anyway, so step by step. Then you come to the abortion thing, and pretty soon there's a tolerance for some abortions, and now it's just anybody, any place, any time can get an abortion. And it's become a method of birth control. And so the next thing in the engineering process will be to determine how the fetus develops, and then we'll find out what fetuses we want and what ones we don't want. And then if we can plant sperm in anybody we want, then we'll start to do that. And it's all part of ultimately taking us to the point of engineering all of this stuff. It's really frightening. That's an attack on God and His sovereignty and so forth. And so I think anytime you go beyond the couple that God brought together and try to create a life, you really got yourself into a serious biblical and ethical problem.